Governor Mabry had promised a private meeting. Morrison insisted on it. Mabry agreed. Just the two of them, one or two historians of the governor's choosing, a quiet room where Brushy Bill could make his case. That morning, November 29, 1950, Mabry announced the meeting publicly. Morrison was eating breakfast with Brushy at a Santa Fe diner when he read it in the newspaper. He called the governor immediately. Mabry apologized, said it would still be private. Do not worry. A few hours later, Morrison walked Brushy Bill through the door of the governor's executive mansion. They were shown to the conference room. What they saw stopped them cold. Photographers, reporters, armed state troopers. Oscar and Jarvis Garrett, Pat Garrett's own sons, seated at the table. Cliff McKinney, son of Kip McKinney. Arcadio Brady, grandson of Sheriff William Brady. 3 historians. The private hearing had become a courtroom stacked with descendants of every man Billy the Kid had ever wronged. Tight. Brushy shook when he saw the room. Morrison steered him to a side study, got him lying down, waited 20 minutes. Then they walked him in. He failed almost immediately. Some questions were dismissive. How many girlfriends did he have? Did he enjoy stealing cattle? Then someone asked about April 28, 1881, the day Billy the Kid escaped from Lincoln County Jail. Roberts said he had not done any shooting that day. He would just get on his horse and ride off. Billy the Kid killed 2 deputies during that escape. Deputy James Bell was shot inside the courthouse. Deputy Bob Ollinger was shot from an upstairs window with his own shotgun as he came running back across the street. Both accounts are confirmed. Wikipedia confirms it. PBS confirms it. Every credible account of the Lincoln County War confirms it. If Roberts was Billy the Kid, he lived through one of the most dramatic escapes in American frontier history, headlines across the country. He would have carried that memory for 70 years, and when asked directly about it in front of the governor, he said he did not fire a shot. That answer did more damage than forgetting Pat Garrett's name. Oscar Garrett was asked if he wanted to question Roberts. He looked across the table and said, "I do not wish to dignify this claim with any questions." When it was over, Governor Mabry stepped out and told the press, "I am taking no action now or ever on this application for a pardon for Billy the Kid because I do not believe this man is Billy the Kid." Morrison took Brushy to a doctor, then drove him home to Hico, Texas. Brushy was bedridden for days. On December 27, 1950, he felt well enough to walk his wife's package to the post office. He collapsed on the street with a heart attack in front of the Hico News Review and died where he fell. This is the final investigation in the Billy the Kid Frontier Forensic Series. If you've followed from the beginning, the identification failures at the 1881 shooting, the DNA test blocked for over 20 years, the bullet in the washstand that contradicts Garrett's written account, you already know why this question is still open. Every angle we've examined lands in the same place, an 1881 identification that would fail modern evidentiary standards. The full series is in the playlist. Before evaluating any claimant, we need the forensic baseline. What do documented period sources actually tell us about Billy the Kid's physical appearance? The Las Vegas Gazette published a jailhouse interview on December 27, 1980, after Billy's capture at Stinking Springs. The reporter's description: he is about 5 feet 8 or 9 inches tall, slightly built and lithe, weighing about 140. A frank, open countenance, looking like a schoolboy, with the traditional silky fuzz on his upper lip. Clear blue eyes with a roguish snap about them, the only imperfection being 2 prominent front teeth slightly protruding like squirrel's teeth. That's the written forensic baseline, 5'8", 140 pounds. blue eyes, buck teeth, now the one confirmed photograph. A 2x3-inch ferrotype taken circa late 1879 or early 1980 outside Beaver Smith's Saloon in Fort Sumner. Sold at auction in 2011 for $2.3 million. And here is something almost nobody raises when this photograph gets used in imposter comparisons. It is a reversed image. Tintypes produce mirror images. Firearms experts confirmed it when they noticed the Winchester spring plate was on the wrong side. Winchester only made rifles with the spring plate on the right. The vest buttons were wrong too. The gun appears on Billy's left hip, which is why generations assumed he was left-handed, and why a 1958 Paul Newman film was called The Left-Handed Gun. He was right-handed. This matters enormously for the photo comparison studies. Any study that used the unreversed image was measuring a mirrored face, filed away for now. 3 additional documented physical markers. Small hands with disproportionately large wrists, the anatomical quirk Billy used on April 28, 1881, to slip his handcuffs during the Lincoln County jailbreak. Fluent Spanish, unusual for Anglo men of his era, and specific wound scars from documented incidents, including a bullet wound to the right thigh during the April 1, 1878 ambush of Sheriff Brady. That last one, hold on to it. Most men who claim to be Billy the Kid are dismissed quickly. John Miller of Rama, New Mexico, died March 12, 1937 in Prescott, Arizona. Sullivan and Cedarwall exhumed his grave in May 2005, found 2 skeletons in the unmarked plot, extracted DNA, and sent it to a Dallas lab. Those results were never publicly released because the comparison sample, Catherine Antrim's remains in Silver City, was never authorized. The test was run. Nobody released it. Then there's Brushy Bill. He deserves the full forensic toolkit. In 1948, working on a probate case in Beaumont, Texas, Morrison encountered an elderly man named Joe Hines who claimed to be Jesse Evans, Billy's former associate. Hines told Morrison that Billy the Kid was alive in Hamilton, Texas, as Ollie P. Roberts. Morrison tracked him down, visited him in June 1949. What he found, approximately 5'8", about 165 pounds, blue eyes, small hands, large wrists, heavy shoulders. First test, the handcuffs. Brushy demonstrated. He made his hands narrow enough to slip through, thumbs tucked at an unusual angle, hands narrower than his wrists. You either have that anatomy or you don't. Billy the Kid used this same physical quirk to walk out of Lincoln County Jail in April 1881. Multiple witnesses saw Brushy's demonstration. They said he had it. Then Morrison asked him to take off his shirt. He documented 26 bullet and knife scars, not scars from a rough life, specific scars in specific locations. Morrison recorded them. A scar approximately 1 inch long across the back of the right hand near the knuckle joints. A scar across the first knuckle of the right forefinger, the trigger finger. 1 scar inside the kneecap of the left leg. 2 scars inside the lower shin of the left leg, with a bullet still lodged in the muscle. And then the one that changes the weight of everything. 1 scar high up on the right hip, from a battle when Sheriff Brady was killed in Lincoln, April 1st, 1878. The regulators ambushed Sheriff Brady on Lincoln's Main Street. During the exchange, Billy was hit in the right thigh as he ran from cover to retrieve Brady's rifle. Wikipedia confirms it. PBS confirms it. Every credible account of the Lincoln County War confirms it. In 1949, in Hamilton, Texas, a man showed a probate investigator a scar in that exact location and told him exactly where it came from. That is not a general bullet scar. That is a locatable wound tied to a named historical event in a specific year. Museum director Sue Land said it directly. The first thing they did was check the wounds and scars on Brushy's body. They matched every known wound that Billy the Kid was to have. I don't know any man that would go out and put 5 bullet scars on his body so that he would match up with somebody else. And there was one other moment that deserves mention. At some point before the 1950 hearing, Morrison took Roberts to stand in front of Billy the Kid's alleged grave in Fort Sumner. Brushy looked at it and told bystanders, "They think they've got me there, buried like an outlaw with my feet to the west, but that won't get it. They didn't get me yet. They didn't." That's not a con man's line. A con man keeps things manageable. That came from somewhere. Morrison then found people who had known Billy personally. 4 of them signed sworn affidavits. Severo Gallegos met with Brushy, talked with him, examined him, signed. Martelay Abel had cooked a meal for Billy during the Lincoln County War years. She identified Roberts by his eyes and by what she remembered of his small hands with unusually large wrists. She had a worn 1880 photograph of Billy. She signed. Jose Montoya's affidavit stated he had personally seen Billy alive at a bullfight in Juarez, Mexico in 1902, 21 years after the supposed death. DeWitt. Travis had known the kid since childhood and recognized Roberts by the scars he'd seen on his body while swimming. He signed. Bill and Sam Jones verbally agreed Roberts was the kid, but refused to sign legal documents. Sam Jones wrote, "I'm old and I just don't feel like being obligated so." Morrison also brought Brushy to visit Gallegos and his neighbors. Critics said Brushy couldn't speak Spanish, but Billy spoke it fluently. Brushy spoke with Gallegos' Mexican neighbor, Josephine Sanchez, in what multiple witnesses confirmed was fluent Spanish. Former President Harry S. Truman, after reading the book Morrison published with historian C.L. Sonicson, wrote to Morrison that he believed Brushy was Billy the Kid and lamented that Roberts died before having a chance to go before the next governor. Now the case against. Roberts' own niece, Geneva Pittman, confirmed his birth year as August 26, 1879, per the family Bible, corroborated by the 1900 U.S. Census of Hopkins County, Texas. If Roberts was born in 1879, he was 1 year old when the Lincoln County War ended, 2 years old when Billy was supposedly shot. That is the most damaging single fact in this case. Roberts' explanation: Oliver P. Roberts was a distant cousin who died on the trail. Brushy found the body, the mother mistook him for her son, and he assumed the cousin's identity around 1910. Some researchers have found documentary support for this. The explanation is not impossible. It is not proven. Billy could read and write. His letters to Governor Wallace survive and are literate, thoughtful documents. Brushy was largely illiterate. The Spanish fluency is a genuine counterweight. The literacy gap is real. And then the jailbreak answer, which I mentioned at the top. The man who claimed to be Billy the Kid, when asked directly about the most famous moment of Billy's life after his death sentence, said he hadn't fired a shot. He just rode off. Billy killed 2 deputies. Any man who lived through that escape would not have forgotten the specifics. Then there are the photo studies. In 1989, Robert L. Haar and Dr. Thomas Kyle ran a facial comparison using 25 landmarks on 150 photographs. Roberts ranked 42nd. 41 strangers resembled Billy more closely. Kyle said if the 2 were the same person, Roberts should have ranked at least 2nd. Problem: if Haar and Kyle used the unreversed tintype, the mirrored version, every facial landmark was wrong. Left cheekbone mapped as right. Jaw asymmetry inverted. The whole face backwards. In 1990, Scott Acton and Alan Bovick at the University of Texas corrected for facial positioning and used FBI and Interpol standard recognition methodology. Their result? A claimed 93% match. Their conclusion? Beyond the shadow of a doubt, the same person. An Arkansas Chancery judge and attorney reviewed their findings and called the case strong and substantial. 2 scientific studies, opposite conclusions. The difference may be whether the photograph was corrected for its fundamental left-right reversal. Apply modern forensic standards to everything on the table. The handcuff anatomy cannot be faked, and it carries high weight. The right hip scar matches the documented location of the Brady ambush wound. It is locatable, specific, and cross-referenceable, giving it moderately high weight. 4 sworn affidavits from people who knew Billy personally are meaningful, but a 67-year-old eyewitness identification carries documented reliability problems, giving it moderate weight. The birth record from 1879 carries high weight against the claim, unless the cousin explanation holds. The literacy gap adds moderate weight against. The jailbreak answer adds significant weight against. The photo studies are genuinely inconclusive and methodology dependent. On a preponderance of evidence standard, the case is genuinely ambiguous. On a beyond reasonable doubt standard, the 1879 birth record, the literacy problem, and the jailbreak answer together create more than enough doubt. The test that would close it has never been run. Brushy Bill Roberts is buried in Hamilton, Texas. Catherine Antrim is buried in Silver City, New Mexico. A mitochondrial DNA comparison between those 2 graves would tell you whether the man in Hamilton shared Billy's maternal lineage. The authorization to run that test has never been signed. Now step back and look at what 4 forensic investigations have established. In the bullet evidence video, Garrett's second shot traveled in a direction consistent with a man moving blind and low, and Garrett's own 1882 words confirm he was moving, threw my body aside. If his account of what happened physically in that room is wrong, his identification account comes from the same narrative. In the DNA video, the test that would answer whether Billy is even in the Fort Sumner grave has been blocked for over 20 years. And in the video that started this series, we documented the chain of custody failures from July 14, 1881. No post-mortem photograph, no doctor. An alcalde's inquest that lasted 1 morning, 2 deputies who told Garrett immediately he'd shot the wrong man. 4 forensic disciplines. 4 investigations. 1 place they all land. Brushy Bill Roberts walked into that executive mansion in Santa Fe on November 29, 1950, expecting a private room, sat across from Pat Garrett's sons, and tried to claim what he said he was owed for 70 years. He couldn't account for the 2 deputies he reportedly killed during his escape. He forgot Garrett's name. The governor said no. Oscar Garrett wouldn't give him the dignity of a question. 4 weeks later, Roberts died on a Hyco street trying to mail his wife's package. Was he Billy the Kid? The physical evidence raises the question seriously. The 1879 birth record, the literacy problem, and the jailbreak answer push back hard. The DNA that would close it has never been tested. The complete series is in the playlist. 4 videos, 4 forensic angles, 1 question nobody with authority to answer it has ever been willing to touch. The answer is in 2 graves, 280 miles apart. Nobody has signed the authorization to open them.